What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel, your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. And guys, today we are going to do part 3 of the top 10 movies that need 4K transfers in 2022. Again, I know I did part 1, I did part 2 about 3 or 4 weeks ago towards the beginning of 2022. So maybe a little bit late with this one, but I did promise it, I did tease it, and I wanted to do it. So I thought, you know, why not? We're still in early February, so still pretty early on in 2022 to be talking about some titles that we hope to get 4K transfers in 2022. So guys, I have a stack of just absolute bangers right here that I'm super excited to talk about and speculate on with you guys. But before I do that, I want to ask that if you are not yet a subscriber of the Mid-Level Media channel, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button. I do tons of physical media based content on this channel, Blu-ray 4K reviews. I do the physical media report every single Monday where I update you on all the latest happenings in the world of physical media. I do Blu-ray hunting videos, collection updates, live streams with other collectors, just tons of physical media content. If you like Blu-rays, you like 4Ks, definitely consider hitting that subscribe button. Also, be sure to like the video, guys, and comment down below if you have your own list of movies that you would love to get a 4K transfer this year or in years to come. Let me know in the comment section below. So as you all know, I've already done 2 lists. I've done 2 top 10s. So I've done 20 movies, so go back and check those 2 out if you haven't yet, because some of those you might think should be in this stack, but they're not because I've already talked about them. So if you didn't get a chance to check out part 1 and part 2, go back and check those 2 out and then come back and check out part 3. So let's get into it, guys, because we got 10 movies to go through. And the first one that I am going to talk about, my number 10 movie that needs a 4K in 2022. This is an iconic film, guys. It came out the year I was born. It is a John Hughes film, and it's called The Breakfast Club. So yeah, why this movie doesn't have a 4K, I would have assumed that it would by now. This was put out by the Criterion Collection, I think in 2017. So it has a 4K remastering, but it does not have that 4K transfer yet as of right now. So whether Criterion puts this out in 4K, Universal puts this out in 4K, we absolutely need this iconic teen comedy drama, whatever you want to call it. We need this on 4K. It's too iconic of a film to not have a 4K. So The Breakfast Club, again, whether Universal does it, I'm sure Universal would do a fantastic job with it, or it's Criterion that puts this out on 4K, because they are doing 4Ks now. We just need somebody to put this out on 4K. We need this in 4K. The Breakfast Club is my number 10. So let's move into my number 9. And this is another one that we got a 4K scan of a couple of years ago. It's just one of the most iconic horror films of all time. And I think that all the big horror films need 4K transfers. And this is Friday the 13th. So we got this in the, big Friday the 13th box set from Scream Factory. The 4K scan of this one and part 2 and part 3 and part 4. I don't need all those. I would love all of those if they want to do those, but I just want the first Friday the 13th film in 4K. I've got the first Halloween in 4K. We've got all kinds of classic horror films. I want these big horror films in 4K. This I don't think would look necessarily spectacular in 4K, but again, I want these films in the highest definition possible. So Friday the 13th, we absolutely need it. Scream Factory put this one out. Again, I don't think that they would just put this one out. They would probably go ahead and do 2, 3, and 4, and maybe do another little like 4K box set or something, or maybe the big box releases like they did with Halloween. I don't know, that would be cool too. But yeah, Friday the 13th, I just want the first one, maybe a cool steelbook with it as well, just a cool edition, some new features. I don't know, Friday the 13th, it again, like The Breakfast Club, it is just too iconic of a horror film to not have that 4K. And, I talked about Nightmare on Elm Street needing a 4K in a couple of videos back, and we need Friday the 13th in 4K. We need it. So let's move into my number 8, and we're getting ready to hit a run of some classic action films from my childhood. And the first one that I'm going to bring up, guys, is a film starring the great Bruce Willis, Ben Affleck, Liv Tyler's in this film. It is one of the greatest disaster films of all time that really honestly doesn't have a whole lot of disaster in it, but it's Armageddon. So I know this movie's cheesy. It's directed by Michael Bay. There's definitely some flaws there. It's definitely super unrealistic. Why would you train drillers to be astronauts when you can train astronauts to be drillers? It's really just a stupid concept, a stupid premise, but it's so much fun. I always loved watching this film as a kid. Bruce Willis is great in it, Ben Affleck. I love all the side characters, Steve Buscemi, the guy that plays Chicks, I can't think of his name off the head, who's actually in the new Halloween film. Michael Clark Duncan's in this movie. There's just tons of great people and personalities in this film, and I've just always loved this movie. Again, cheesy. It is directed by Michael Bay, but it is one of my favorite Michael Bay films. It would probably be like this one, and Bad Boys would be like my two favorite Michael Bay films. But this movie would look fantastic in 4K. You know, you have all these sequences of the spaceships flying in the air and the asteroid. Just, there would be tons of great visuals in this film that would look great in 4K. I just remember when they're speeding around the moon, going into the back of the asteroid to land on it. Like, all that stuff would look spectacular in 4K. So yeah, this is one that I think we absolutely need in 4K. Now, this one was put out by Touchstone, which is now owned by Disney. So this would be a title that would have to be put out by Disney. And look, guys, I know Disney doesn't have the best track record with 4K transfers, but I am optimistic after all of this heat that they are getting from people that they are eventually going to start putting out quality 4Ks. They're eventually going to amass a team that can actually handle these transfers. I hope so. That's the optimistic side of me. That's the glass half full side of Ken right there. I want them. So they've got so many great movies. We're getting ready to go into some other ones here in a second. And I just really want Disney to please get their heads out of their asses and find a team that can actually pull off these transfers and give these classic films the respect that they deserve. I'm hoping that we have been waiting on Heat for so long because they're trying to get it right. That's what I'm hoping is happening. And yeah, Armageddon, we need it. I don't care if Disney puts it out. Hope it looks great. They did okay with Unbreakable, another Bruce Willis film. They also did okay with Speed. So with those, like if they do the same quality that they did with those releases, with this one, I think we'll be in good shape. So Armageddon, I would love to see get a 4K in 2022. So let's go into my number 7, guys. We're going to go with another classic Scorsese, a modern classic Scorsese film. This is one that I am so surprised every time I think about it. It doesn't have a 4K release. It just feels like they would have done this one when the format was first created, but it's just one of the most popular Martin Scorsese films. But this is The Departed. It's not one of my personal favorites. I like the movie. I just don't think it's the masterpiece that a lot of people hold it up to be. So I don't even know if I could get this in my top 5 Martin Scorsese, probably not even my top 10, but I do like the film and I do think it would look fantastic in 4K. It's got some great visuals in it. It's got some great colors. Again, it's such a great cast in this movie. You got Leonardo DiCaprio, Matt Damon, Mark Wahlberg, Jack Nicholson. How could they, only Martin Scorsese could bring these 4 juggernaut actors together in one movie. But yeah, this movie, it needs a 4K. Again, as soon as it gets announced, I know so many people would be so excited for this. Again, not my favorite Scorsese. I'm not going to say that I would be necessarily the most excited, but I know so many people would, and I know so many people really want this. So got to get it in there at number 7 is The Departed. So let's get into my number 6, guys. And this is where we start to get into some of my very personal favorites from my childhood. The next 2 that we're going to talk about, but the first one is Demolition Man with Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes. We need this one in 4K, guys. We absolutely need this one. And this is Warner Brothers. So Warner Brothers, get on it. You need to put this one out. Also, The Departed is Warner Brothers as well, but Demolition Man, guys, it's got some great visuals too. I imagine like some of the action, some of the set piece moments in this film will look fantastic in 4K. Just seeing this futuristic setting, getting to see that futuristic Taco Bell restaurant in 4K is something I've been waiting for my entire life. Before I even knew that 4K existed, I want to see those seashells in 4K. We need it, guys. Demolition Man, just one of my favorite movies. This movie is so much fun. I bought this movie on Blu-ray probably 2 years ago. It's still in the plastic. I don't know why I haven't watched this movie. I need to watch it. But yeah, again, Demolition Man, just one of the best. We need it in 4K in 2022. So let's get into my next one. Again, this is another action classic from my childhood. I absolutely love this movie. It might be my favorite action movie, hands down, of all time. This is a movie starring Nicolas Cage. It is my favorite Nicolas Cage film, and this is Con Air. So I absolutely love Con Air. We need this in 4K. This is another Touchstone title, so this would be one that Disney would have to put out. Again, though, they did such a good job with Speed. I honestly thought Speed was a really good transfer. I think they could do the same with Con Air. Again, it's kind of the same kind of movie. Both of those movies, though, Speed, Con Air, go back and forth for my favorite action movie of all time. I love both of them, but this movie will look fantastic in 4K. Another one with a fantastic cast. You got Nicolas Cage. You got John Cusack, John Malkovich in this movie. movie. Steve Buscemi again, who was also in Armageddon. We're getting a lot of Buscemi in 4K. We need it. But yeah, guys, again, put the bunny down. It's such a great action movie. I love this movie so much, and we need it in 4K. Again, I know a lot of people love Face Off. I'm not the biggest Face Off fan, but I love Conair, and we need Conair in 4K for sure. We just got this generic Blu-ray right here. This is the only respect you can give to one of the greatest action movies of all time, Conair. Come on, guys. We need Conair in 4K. We need it. We need it bad. So let's get into my number 4, guys. And this is a movie that I think will look just so good. This is another Paul Thomas Anderson movie, and this is from 1997. This is Boogie Nights. Again, another movie starring Mark Wahlberg. But we also got Burt Reynolds in this movie. It's just such a great cast. John C. Reilly, Heather Graham. Again, this movie just has that like old school film feel to it. It's so well shot by Paul Thomas Anderson. It just looks incredible anyway. But I think on 4K, this movie would really pop in some of those sequences and the nightclubs and all that stuff. I think it would look great. So why do we not have Boogie Nights on 4K? We need it. New Line Cinema, who is now owned by Warner Brothers, I believe. So those are the ones who would be putting this one out. Do it. We need Boogie Nights. It's such a classic film from the 90s. We absolutely need it in 4K. Hopefully in 2022. So let's get into my top 3, guys. And as you all know, I love my horror. So a lot of these 4K lists include some of the most classic horror films of all time because there's just so many at this point that we don't have in 4K, and it's ridiculous, and we need them. But the first one that I'm going to bring up is this already has a great Scream Factory release. It's probably my favorite that they've ever put out, but this is Creepshow. And if you've never seen Creepshow, it is the best horror anthology film. From the mind of Stephen King, directed by classic film horror director George A. Romero. I love this film so much. It's got such a visual style to it as far as like how it shifts back and forth between like real life and like comic book style. It was just so innovative for that back in the day. And yeah, it's just so great. It would look so good in 4K with just some of those colorful sequences. In particular in the beginning with the happy birthday stuff and the head on the plate. It would just all look great. That zombie crawling out of the grave, the stuff with Leslie Nielsen and Ted Danson, that whole sequence in the beginning. It's just such a visually striking movie that I think will look great in 4K. And it's got a 4K remaster with this screen that looks excellent. Like this is an excellent looking Blu-ray already, but I just think that if Scream Factory did this again in 4K, it could really take it to the next level and create something truly special. Just a truly special 4K transfer right here, guys, that could stand the test of time forever. And I love this movie so much. We need it in 4K. Another hard box release. Again, one of my favorite Scream Factory releases right here, guys. If you have not seen, see, look at that. Look at some of those visuals on the back and tell me that would not make an incredible 4K. I imagine Stephen King with all the grass and moss and stuff growing on him. It would look fantastic. So Creepshow, we absolutely need a 4K transfer in 2022. So that's my number 3. Let's get into my number 2. Again, I don't want to get controversial on here. I know that this actor doesn't do much work anymore because of some despicable things from his past that he's done and all that stuff. I like to kind of separate the art from the artist when I'm talking about movies, but American Beauty is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love this film. It's in my top 50 films of all time. Kevin Spacey, again, might not be a good person in real life. In fact, I'm pretty sure he's not, but this movie, like, he is so good in it. It's just one of the best performances of the 90s, of the whole 20th century. It's just, I love this film. I watched it again a couple of years ago and was just reminded like how great it actually is. So this has such a great visual style. Again, this is directed by Sam Mendes, same guy who did 1917, did some of the James Bond films, Skyfall, I believe that he did, but he's done so many other films, Revolutionary Road. Just a brilliant director, and he brought such a style to this movie. It's just visually striking. You know, that sequence where Mira Suvari's kind of opening up her blouse in the cheerleading floor, and all the roses are coming out. She's laying in the rose petal bathtub. It would look so great in 4K. When I haven't watched the Blu-ray yet, again, still in the plastic, and I imagine that it looks pretty good. But this movie could just look so much better, and it would definitely benefit for my 4K upscale. So this was put out by Paramount, so Paramount would do this 4K release. They usually do a really good job with their releases, so I think this movie would be in good hands. But again, American Beauty, guys, if you haven't seen it, if you're put off because Kevin Spacey's in it, forget all that stuff. It is really just one of the most brilliant performances of all time. I absolutely love this movie. It's got such a great cast as well. Thora Birch is great in it. Allison Janney's in this movie. Annette Bening is fantastic. The score by Thomas Newman in this movie is just one of my all-time favorite scores of all time. Absolutely love it. But this movie, guys, doesn't get the respect it deserves. It is a Best Picture winner. Put this movie in the 4K format. Do it right now, Paramount. So let's move into my last choice, and I imagine a lot of people are going to be happy with this choice. This movie I picked not because it's one of my favorite horror movies of all time. It's probably up there, maybe top 30, but it's not like in the top 10, top 20, anything like that. But I just think like with the effects in this movie, you know, coming off of The Thing, which came out last year, it looks so great with some of those practical effects, those makeup effects. This movie has a lot of the same stuff going on, and I just think it will look fantastic in 4K. And it's one of the most iconic horror movies of all time, but that is The Fly, the David Cronenberg Fly with Jeff Goldblum. This movie will look so good in 4K. I'm just imagining some of those sequences with Jeff Goldblum kind of transforming into the Fly. It would look great. And yeah, I think this absolutely needs a 4K. This was put out by Scream Factory. These were not 4K scans, but Scream Factory definitely, if they do any of them, I'm not saying do the whole box set in 4K again. We don't need The Fly 2 in 4K, but this one we absolutely do, and I hope that Scream Factory does this one the respect that it deserves and gives it a 4K, just a standalone 4K release for The Fly. So beyond that, this put out by 20th Century Fox, so this would have to be a Disney title, and I don't see Disney doing The Fly, so it would have to be Scream Factory does the 4K transfer on this one. But yeah, I think this movie will look stunning, will look beautiful in 4K, and we absolutely need it in 2022. So there you go, guys. There are my 10 titles that we need upgraded to 4K in 2022. There's just so many movies that we need in 4K. Just let me know in that comment section below. What are some of the ones that you would like to see put out in 4K in 2022 or just some of the years to come? But yeah, these are definitely 10 excellent films that would look fantastic in 4K. But I appreciate you guys watching. Like, comment down below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on those bell notifications for all future videos and follow me on all my social media accounts. Those links are in the description, and we'll see you next time.